Dear students, let us begin Lecture 4 of Week 11 on Quality and Compliance. This lecture will emphasize on packing and packaging regulations. We will begin by understanding what packaging in international trade refers to. We will then see why packaging is important at all for international trade. So, what do we mean by packing or packaging? Packaging is the material, design, and container used to protect a product, make handling and storage safe, and give users the information they need. So, dear students, when you are purchasing a product, what is all mentioned on the package of the product? You have a lot of information that is supplied. Maybe you only focus on some of the specific information like the name of the product, the expiry date. Something very common is checking expiry date or looking at the manufacturing date at best, or what is the weight of the product, for example, whether it is of 100 grams, 500 grams, a liter, 500, a liter or half a liter, 200 ml. So these are some common informations that a common consumer seek out when they are purchasing a product, and they look it up at the packaging of the product. So that is why we define packaging as what is the material, what is the design of the packaging, and what is the information that it is supplying. Packaging includes the retail pack, inner packs, and outer shipping cartons. So if the exporter is exporting kind of maybe a variety of biscuits, so maybe a big pack might have an outer covering, an outer package, and once it is unfolded or undone, there might be small packets of a certain quantity of the biscuits. So one outer packaging, then several inner packaging, right? So this is how packaging can be done. The process of preparing goods for transport, and this whole stage includes choosing the variety of cartons, the size of carton, the weight it can bear, pallets, what is the kind of cushioning that would be used in order to protect the goods from being damaged or being spoiled by wear and tear during transport, blocking and bracing, and sealing. How do they seal the product so that the quality can be maintained, so that it can be ascertained that it was not used before. So the goods survive normal handling by road, air, and sea. What are the packaging regulations? The legally binding rules and standards that control how products must be packed and labeled. So, as we have seen, there are regulations for each and every aspect in the trade procedure. Similarly, we have particular regulations for packaging the product as well. And it depends on the country we are importing to, as well as the exporter country might have and do have a specific set of rules and regulations for packaging of the products. What do they cover? They cover safety, example hazard warnings, the materials, example food contact safe, ISPM 15 for wood, environment and recycling marks, labeling language and font sizes, barcodes, and country of origin markings. These rules are set by destination governments and international standards bodies and must be met before the goods are shipped or sold. Why packing and packaging matter? Because it protects the goods from shock, vibration, moisture, and theft during normal transport and storage. For example, more than 80% of the goods traded worldwide use the sea route. And the most frequently used sea route is the Red Sea area. There might be instances of pirate attacks or thefts along the route. So, a good packaging might help with the protection of goods in case of these mishappenings. Also, the goods take a good deal of days to reach the destination country. Within that time frame, the goods, if they are not properly packaged, might be exposed to a lot of dirt, a lot of moisture, a lot of uh, hazardous substances or bacteria, viruses, etc. So, a good packaging would always ensure that the goods are properly protected from such situations. It helps customs and buyers process cargo quickly and reduce claims, penalties, and rework. So, if the exporter country does not adhere to the packaging regulations of the destination countries or those given by the international standard bodies, then they would end up being charged a penalty and additional fee of not following the rules and guidelines, and it can also yield in rework in case of providing additional documentation, etc. Legal framework and standards. Regulations come from national laws, international conventions, and standards such as ISO, ISPM 15 for wood, and dangerous goods codes. Exporters need to comply with the destination country rules and guidelines, and they must know the product specific guidelines being followed in the destination country, and it must be there on the contract, and all the orders must be followed up according to what the contract agreement says. Shipping cartons versus retail packaging. Outer shipping cartons are designed for transport and handling and carry shipment marks and handling symbols. Retail packaging is designed for consumers and must meet labeling, safety, and shelf presentation rules of the destination market. ISPM 15 for wood packaging. Wood pallets and crates used in international trade must be heat treated or fumigated and must carry the ISPM 15 mark from an authorized facility, because wood used for cartons or pallets and crates could be easily targeted and exposed to various kind of molds or bacteria. It should be heat treated and fumigated properly, and it must hold up with the ISPM 15 mark given by an authorized facility in the exporting country. The port of shipment will check these marks on the product. In case these marks are missing or are wrong, it would yield rework on the part of exporter or re-exporting the entire shipment. Hazardous materials packaging. What happens in the case of a dangerous good? How is it packaged. Hazardous goods or dangerous goods need to carry UN certified packaging, correct hazard labels, and documents under IATA if taking an air route, for sea route IMDG, and road route ADR. Package design, strength, and closure methods must match the tested UN specification for the substance and packing group. So, in the case where the exporter is dealing in the export or selling of a hazardous product as identified by the government, they must follow with the UN certified packaging. The UN has provided several packaging rules and regulations for such kind of products. Moisture and corrosion control. Sea voyages expose goods to humidity and salt. Use barrier films, VCI papers, desiccants, and humidity indicators to prevent rust and mold. So obviously, if this is not followed, the goods can be easily destroyed or it can be easily tampered with, and once reaching the port of destination, it could be rejected by the importer, or it can bring a bad name to the exporter. It would tarnish the reputation of the exporter, and any other such situations can occur. So it is very important to follow up with the correct packaging guidelines in order to protect your goods from being exposed to any such kind of irritants or substances during the sea voyage. Size the solution to voyage duration and climate and record the calculations in the packing specifications. You must be well aware of what would be the timeline of the entire voyage. How many days would it take for the shipment to reach the port of destination, whether your packaging would be able to hold up for this entire duration or not. How durable your packaging is for the climate that the goods would be enduring during this entire journey. So the exporter must keep all these things in mind while preparing the particular packaging of their goods in accordance with the destination country's rules and regulations governing the packaging of goods according to the international bodies like the United Nations or any other such kind of bodies. Shock and vibration protection. Palletization, edge protectors, cushioning and blocking and bracing prevent damage from drops and vibration. So, the climate can be ever changing during the entire voyage, and in certain situations the exporter might not be positive about or sure about the packaging endurance of any kind of shock or vibrations, any kind of wear and tear. So in that case, and being far-sighted enough, the exporter must provide edge protectors, cushioning and blocking and bracing equipment in the or material in the packaging. For example, you might have seen that several gadgets when you order them, they arrive with a lot of cushioning. There might be certain items of thermocol, or there might be several kind of items like cotton, in order to protect the good from any shock or vibrations, providing a safe cushioning around the entire product. And it might also have multi layers of packaging just to ensure that the product remains safe in case of any uncertain movement, whether or not the product is fragile or not. So this is why edge protectors and cushioning is important. The exporter must choose materials and designs that match product fragility and transport mode, and verify with a drop or vibration test when possible. So before choosing a particular packaging item, packaging material, it is important, and it bodes well for the exporter if they do a quick testing of the endurance of this particular material. Food contact and hygiene packaging. Food and pharma exports use packaging materials approved for food contact that do not transfer odor, taste, or contaminants. So, in the case of food products and pharmaceutical products such as medicines, not all material is packaging friendly. The exporter must know which material is conducive for such products and which material can easily contaminate or mix with the chemical composition of the food product or the medicinal product. So in such cases, the choice of packaging material is quite sensitive to the composition of the product that is being exported. Packing may need controlled areas to meet safety and hygiene rules. Document the controls in the batch file. Environmental and recycling rules. Many markets require packaging to meet recycling, material identification, and waste reduction rules, and some ban specific plastics. Choose materials that meet destination recycling codes and add the correct marks on packs and cartons. So, the exporter's choice of these markings must always match with the importers or destination countries' requirements. Marking and handling symbols. There are some standard handling symbols that you might see on various products. For example, fragile or this side up. It is mostly seen in electronic appliances. For example, if you are exporting or importing a refrigerator, an AC unit. So those packagings have the marking and handling symbols like this side up, keep dry, and do not stack on outer cartons in order to guide and help the logistics staff identify easily, right? Symbols must be large, clear, and printed on more than one side so they remain visible in warehouses and at ports. And you must have seen it that these symbols are quite large and very legible for everyone to identify. And it certainly goes very well with fragile items. Or you might have also seen symbols of inflammable, right? Because it is important for everyone to know that the product being transported is highly inflammable in nature, and thus it should be handled very carefully, right? So this is why these marking and handling symbols are really important. They carry a large font size, they are printed very clearly, and it might be printed on more than one side of the outer container so that it gives emphasis of the nature of the product that is being transported or exported. And it specifically means for the logistics staff that it cannot be handled in a regular manner as a normal good. Cartons and pallets often carry GS1 compliant case labels using ITF 14 or GS1 128 so the buyer can scan and receive stock quickly. Barcode data must match the product codes and quantities printed on the packing list and purchase order. Seaworthy versus airworthy packing. So the packaging would vary based on the transport route the consignment is going to take. So in the case of sea route, the exporter must choose and must adhere to the packaging that resist moisture, compression, and handling typical long sea voyages and multi-trans shipments. In the case of air route, the packaging must focus on weight limits to match the airline requirements, pressure changes. So the packaging must be done in a manner that it does not unfold or break because of the or come apart because of the changes in pressure after the airline reaches at an altitude. And security screening and uses lighter but strong materials. So usage of materials that are light in weight, carries little to negligible weight or less weight, but the material used should be quite strong in order to endure any amount of wear and tear in accordance with the nature of the product. Packaging specifications in contracts. The purchase contract should describe packaging type, carton strength, pallet size, labeling, and special requirements with test references. Clear specifications prevent disputes and help inspectors verify compliance objectively. So we are dealing with international trade, and any kind of small dispute might lead to a larger dispute and will be very costly on the exporter. So the important thing is to avoid the arising of any kind of disputes by supplying exactly the same information at every stage of the procedure while marking, labeling, packaging of the goods to prevent disputes in the future. Export packing list and weights. A detailed packing list shows item descriptions, carton numbers, net and gross weights and dimensions for each package. Weights and measures must be realistic and must match the shipping bill and bill of lading to avoid customs issues. Country-specific packaging rules. Some destinations have rules for language, recycling marks, health warnings, and retailer specific packing formats. So, this country to country variation must be relevant for the exporter to be well aware of. Keep a destination checklist and confirm any special marks or materials before printing or packing. So, it might happen that a particular importing firm from a country has a separate rule for the language being written on the packaging, or the recycling marks would be additional to the international body's recycling marks. So it should be well known by the exporter. And how the exporter can be well aware of it? By making a destination checklist. What is the destination requirements? Keeping a list of the various things required and checking out at each step, crossing out whatever step you have already performed and achieved in order to be fully compliant with the importer's rules and regulations. Sustainability and packaging reduction. Buyers may ask for reduced packaging, recycled content, or returnable packaging to meet sustainability goals. Some countries, and today a lot of countries, are very well versed on sustainability goals. They might have a sustainability standard of requiring the least packaging that is enough to protect the good, or it can ask a specific packaging material that is more environmental friendly, that can be easily recycled, or that does not pollute the environment, or that does not contribute to waste. So these specific requirements should be met by the exporter. The exporter must plan these features at the design stage so transport protection and legal compliance are not compromised. So any such specific requirements by the importer should be well known by the exporter, and in accordance to this knowledge, the exporter must plan all the strategies at the designing stage only, and it should not be delayed. What are the common errors while packaging that the exporters make, and how can they avoid making these kind of errors? Errors like missing ISPM 15 marks on wood, pallets or crates, weak cartons for heavy items, unreadable shipping marks, and mismatched barcode data and documents. The exporter can avoid these errors by having a written packaging specification, a pilot pack, and a final check against a golden sample. There is a simple example of engineering goods. A valve exporter uses a heat-treated pallet with the ISPM 15 mark, VCI wrap, desiccant sized for a 30-day sea voyage, edge protectors, and GS1 128 carton labels. The packing list shows carton-wise weights and dimensions, and shipping marks match the purchase order and the bill of lading. What is the practical workflow? Confirm legal and buyer requirements, design the pack for protection and compliance, create a controlled specification, run a sample pack, and then pack production with checks at each step. So this is how an exporter can flow through the entire packaging stage in a practical manner. If the exporter follows this particular workflow, it would help him or her with reducing damage, speeding up and accelerating customs clearance, and ensuring that buyers receive goods ready for use or retail. So, dear students, we have learned about packaging and packaging regulations today in this lecture. Why is it important for the exporter to adhere to the packaging regulations according to the international bodies? Or in the case of specific products, what are the various packaging regulations that have to be followed? How the choosing the material of the packaging can help the exporter protect their goods from the various wear and tear that can happen based on the mean of transport or the route that the goods are going to take. Thank you.